At precisely 4 a.m. Universal Time, October 3rd, the skies over Mars came alive. What was supposed to be a silent flyby of an interstellar wanderer became something that no one, not NASA, not ESA, not even the most seasoned astronomers, was prepared for. The object known as 3I Atlas, traveling through our solar system on a one-way trajectory from the depths of interstellar space, drifted past Mars at just 29 million kilometers away. Every camera, every probe, every sensor humanity had sent to the red planet turned its gaze toward the visitor. But what happened next would rewrite everything we thought we knew about comets, about space, and about the idea that we are alone. Because for the first time in recorded history, Mars didn't just watch the sky, it answered back. The event began quietly. The comet appeared as a dim emerald glow against the dark, a thin halo of gas shimmering faintly behind it. For a few precious minutes, the data coming in from orbiters seemed routine. Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, Mars Express, MAVEN, and the Trace Gas Orbiter all confirmed the same readings. But then, the brightness began to grow, not gradually, but exponentially, as though a switch had been flipped somewhere deep inside the nucleus. Spectrometers recorded eruptions of gas unlike anything ever observed before. Not the familiar plumes of water vapor, but sharp bursts of cyanogen and carbon dioxide, elements that should have remained frozen solid in the cold of space. The comet's surface temperature spiked, its coma expanded rapidly, and the energy output surged beyond predicted limits. Scientists scrambled to recalibrate their instruments, watching as the readings grew stranger by the minute. It wasn't behaving like a rock of ice. It was behaving like something that knew it was being watched. And then, in the middle of the chaos, the first auroras appeared. Mars, with its thin atmosphere and fragmented magnetic field, almost never produces auroras. Yet that night, ultraviolet sensors detected light waves cascading across its entire night side, ribbons of purple, green, and crimson swirling together in electric motion. The glow wasn't caused by solar wind, as no solar flare had been recorded. The only possible trigger was 3I Atlas itself. For hours, Mars's upper atmosphere pulsed and shimmered in synchronization with the comet's position. To observers, it looked like a cosmic dance, a celestial heartbeat connecting two worlds. On the surface, the Perseverance rover captured faint flashes across the horizon, while Curiosity's radiation detector registered inexplicable microbursts of charged particles. Even the long-dormant InSight seismometer, though buried under dust, registered a vibration, an electromagnetic hum rippling through the Martian ground. The data was irrefutable. Mars was responding to something. Whether that something came from the comet or from within itself, no one could say. But for the first time, the red planet wasn't silent. It was singing. Moments after the auroras reached their peak, something else began to happen. Fragments started breaking off from 3I Atlas's glowing nucleus. Spacecraft high above Mars recorded glittering shards spiraling outward, like metallic snowflakes drifting through the void. But instead of dispersing randomly, the fragments twisted in symmetrical arcs, moving as if guided by invisible threads. Scientists called it spiral shedding, but the movement was too precise to be natural. Every piece seemed to turn in coordination, as though obeying a shared command. Some observers even suggested the fragments were adjusting their orientation, aligning themselves with the planet's magnetic poles before drifting away. Then, the Trace Gas Orbiter detected a sudden, inexplicable spike in methane, a chemical that had long puzzled scientists on Mars. The timing was exact. The surge began at the very moment the comet passed overhead. The question was no longer if 3I Atlas affected Mars, but how. Had the interstellar object seeded the planet with exotic compounds? Or had it awakened something ancient, buried beneath the dust, waiting for a signal to return? Then came the sound, faint, steady, and impossible. A low, rhythmic hum pulsing every 22 seconds. NASA engineers first dismissed it as interference, but when ESA's Mars Express picked up the exact same pattern from a completely different vantage point, the skepticism evaporated. 2 spacecraft, 2 instruments, identical timing. The hum persisted for nearly an hour, resonating just below audible frequencies. To the untrained ear, it would have been nothing more than static. But to the experts, it was an anomaly that defied random explanation. Officially, agencies blamed plasma resonance, a natural interaction between Mars's crust and the comet's charged tail. Unofficially, whispers spread through mission control rooms. Some said it was feedback, a response to the electromagnetic probes we'd sent out to monitor the comet. Others believed it was a beacon. Whatever it wasn't random. The hum ended as abruptly as it began, leaving Mars eerily quiet once again. But one thing was certain. Something had passed between the planet and the object. Something real, measurable, and perhaps intentional. When dawn finally broke over the Martian horizon, the planet was not the same. The faint green shimmer that had illuminated its night side had faded, but the instruments left behind on the surface told a different story. The Perseverance rover recorded chemical anomalies in the thin atmosphere, traces of compounds that shouldn't exist outside laboratory synthesis. Carbon isotopes mismatched in ratio, particles aligned in magnetic directions that defied local geology, and an unexplained drop in ambient radiation, as if something had absorbed it overnight. The methane spike detected earlier had vanished, but what replaced it was stranger. A consistent pattern of microelectrical discharges rising from the ground itself, forming invisible webs across the planet's plains. To mission analysts, it looked almost like circuitry, natural formations responding to energy. Residual plasma effects, they called it. But others whispered about activation. Something had been awakened on Mars, something small, subtle, but deliberate. The planet seemed to be remembering something, and whatever 3I Atlas had done, it had left Mars humming, alive in a way it hadn't been for billions of years. Far beyond Mars, stationed at Lagrange Point 2, the James Webb Space Telescope finally regained a clear view of the interstellar visitor as it drifted away from the red planet. When its infrared sensors locked onto the object, the data that came back silenced even the most skeptical minds. The comet's temperature wasn't decreasing as expected. It was rising. Its inner layers, supposedly frozen for eons, were radiating in pulses, as though something inside was generating controlled bursts of heat. The spectroscopy readings were even more bizarre. Compounds of diatomic carbon and cyanogen arranged in perfect harmonic ratios, repeating at intervals that resembled coded sequences. The scientists in charge of analysis debated for hours. No natural process could sustain such precision. And then came another shock. A faint electromagnetic echo detected not from the comet's tail, but from the surrounding void. It was as if the light itself was bouncing off an invisible structure that shouldn't be there. Webb's imaging team enhanced the data and revealed a pattern. 3 concentric spirals of ionized particles, rotating slowly, perfectly aligned with the comet's path. The question everyone asked next was simple: who or what was controlling it? While Webb continued its observation, ground-based telescopes began to report something extraordinary. The green hue of 3I Atlas had intensified, not randomly, but rhythmically. Long-exposure photographs taken from Chile and South Africa revealed that the brightness was pulsing in exact synchronization with the 22-second signal that had been recorded by the Mars orbiters days before. It was as if the object was sending a message back, not to Mars this time, but outward. Radio astronomers detected faint modulations in the background noise, hidden deep beneath the cosmic static. When filtered and translated into sound, the pattern formed a slow, haunting resonance, a pulse that seemed to accelerate and decelerate, almost like breathing. Some thought it was plasma interaction, others speculated it was intelligent modulation. But there was one undeniable fact. The signal repeated itself every time the comet aligned with a planetary magnetic field. It had happened with Mars, and now it was approaching Earth's orbital lane. If the pattern continued, our planet would soon become the next target of that rhythm, a cosmic heartbeat slowly growing louder. In a quiet lab in Pasadena, a young data analyst working late at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory made a discovery that would send shivers through the entire astrophysics community. By overlaying the pulse frequencies recorded from Mars, the brightness fluctuations from ground telescopes, and the heat variations detected by James Webb, she found a hidden symmetry, a mathematical structure repeating across every data set. The numbers formed ratios consistent with prime sequences, identical to those found in the earliest encoded radio transmissions humanity had ever sent into space, the Arecibo message. It wasn't coincidence. The comet was responding using the same logic we had used to define intelligence. Webb's next observation confirmed the nightmare. The object's reflective patterns had shifted, aligning precisely with Earth's orbital plane. It wasn't just passing through the solar system anymore. It was repositioning. The official line remained calm, citing optical artifacts and plasma reflections. But within mission control, fear spread quietly. If 3I Atlas had changed its trajectory even slightly, it meant it wasn't just drifting, it was reacting. And as it aligned perfectly with the blue dot that had been watching it for months, the world realized something unsettling. Whatever this object was, it knew we were here. As 3I Atlas continued its descent toward the sun, Earth's radio observatories began picking up a strange interference pattern spreading through multiple frequency bands. At first, it seemed like solar noise, static from the heightened radiation of the inner heliosphere. But when astronomers compared the data to recordings taken during the comet's Mars encounter, they realized the structure of the interference was identical. It wasn't random static. It was repeating, calculated, almost intentional. The pattern mirrored the same 22-second pulse, except this time it was layered. Multiple harmonics stacked atop one another like chords in a cosmic symphony. NASA, ESA, and private space agencies collaborated to triangulate the source, expecting it to trace back to 3I Atlas. But the readings came from multiple points along its path, as if the space around the comet had become a transmission field. Light from nearby stars even appeared to bend slightly when crossing the region, creating faint distortions, micro-lensing effects that suggested some form of structured energy grid. And yet, the true enigma lay not in what was being transmitted, but in what was being received. Instruments on Earth detected subtle feedback. Echoes of our own radio signals bounced back not seconds later, but delayed by the exact time it would take for a round trip to Mars. The comet, it seemed, was replaying us, our own transmissions, reflected and altered. At the Deep Space Network's Goldstone complex, a team of signal analysts began dissecting the returned echoes. When filtered through digital compression models, the interference produced an eerie geometric pattern, not random noise, but sequences of symmetrical spirals identical to the fractal alignments previously detected by the James Webb telescope around 3I Atlas. Every curve, every ratio matched the golden mean, as if the comet's energy emissions had been converted into a mathematical language. Some of the brightest minds in astrophysics compared the structure to self-replicating data, information encoded not in bits or waves, but in light itself. One researcher described it as a cosmic mirror speaking in reflections. Then came the realization that chilled every scientist involved. The pattern wasn't just communicating something new, it was responding to human-made transmissions. Old probes like Voyager 1 and Pioneer 10 had sent encoded maps of Earth decades ago, along with the infamous golden records carrying music, sounds, and greetings from humanity. And now, the mathematical sequences returning from 3I Atlas seemed to include fragments of those very same signals, distorted, reversed, and overlaid with something else, something that didn't originate from us. The universe wasn't echoing back by accident. It was replying. As the comet's trajectory neared Earth's orbital plane, telescopes worldwide began to record a phenomenon that defied all prediction. For several minutes each night, a faint green light, the same emerald hue observed during the Mars encounter, appeared in the upper atmosphere, barely visible to the naked eye. To most, it looked like auroras, but the light didn't come from solar wind or geomagnetic storms. It came from space. Satellite sensors tracked invisible currents of charged particles entering from the direction of 3I Atlas, pulsing again in that same rhythm, 22 seconds between peaks. Amateur astronomers caught time-lapse images showing the light bending along planetary magnetic lines, as if scanning Earth itself. Governments dismissed it as cosmic rays and atmospheric refraction, but privately, scientists panicked. The sequence was far too regular. The comet wasn't just approaching, it was interacting, tuning itself to our world like it had done with Mars. The green light wasn't random fluorescence. It was data, coded in light frequencies that could only be decoded by advanced spectroscopy. Somewhere, deep in the invisible ether between planets, information was being exchanged. And this time, the receiver was us. In an emergency meeting held jointly by NASA, ESA, and the International Astronomical Union, the situation was deemed beyond standard scientific classification. The data was undeniable. 3I Atlas had emitted patterns resembling a structured communication signal, mirrored planetary magnetic fields, and displayed controlled thermal behavior. And now, the object was moving into direct alignment with Earth's orbit. As the world's largest telescopes trained their lenses on the comet, its core flared one last time, bright enough to rival Venus in the morning sky. Inside that light, spectral analysis detected the impossible. Fluctuations suggesting internal cavities of unknown material density, almost like machinery. The debate turned existential. Should humanity attempt to respond? Some argued for silence, citing the risk of drawing further attention. Others insisted that contact had already been made, that ignoring it now would be meaningless. The James Webb Telescope's final data packet before solar interference recorded something chilling. An increase in the comet's velocity without any visible source of propulsion, as if it had been waiting for alignment before accelerating. Its course now pointed not just toward the sun, but along a trajectory that would intersect the Earth's orbital path in less than 60 days. Whether by coincidence, physics, or intention, 3I Atlas was coming back into view. And this time, it wouldn't just pass by. As the signal from 3I Atlas grew stronger, something began to stir beneath Earth's crust. Seismographs across the planet started detecting low-frequency vibrations, not associated with tectonic movement or volcanic activity, but with the same rhythmic pattern seen in the electromagnetic pulse, every 22 seconds. From Antarctica to the Pacific, the vibrations resonated through the lithosphere, bouncing between continents as if the entire planet were a tuning fork responding to a cosmic frequency. Deep ocean sensors recorded acoustic anomalies traveling through water at impossible speeds, forming standing waves along the ocean floor. The phenomenon wasn't destructive, not yet, but it was consistent, the same pulse everywhere. When data analysts overlaid the readings onto a global map, the vibrations outlined geometric alignments connecting ancient sites: Giza, Nazca, Stonehenge, Easter Island, a lattice that mirrored the double spiral shape of 3I Atlas's tail. Some dismissed it as coincidence, others as interference. But the most daring voices whispered that maybe these sites weren't built for the stars, but because of them. The pattern was older than history, and now, for the first time in millennia, it was resonating again. While Earth trembled under invisible resonance, the James Webb Telescope captured the clearest image yet of 3I Atlas as it emerged from behind the sun. What appeared on the monitors stunned the control room into silence. The object had changed form. Its coma had collapsed into a perfect sphere of light, surrounded by concentric rings of ionized dust that pulsed in flawless symmetry. Each pulse corresponded precisely to the signals Earth was now emitting. The same 22-second rhythm, locked in a perfect feedback loop. Spectral analysis revealed something else. Inside the bright sphere, temperature fluctuations formed structured patterns, alternating in binary sequences. Webb's data suggested the presence of dense metallic compounds within the nucleus, arranged not randomly but geometrically, like architecture. Whatever was at the heart of 3I Atlas was not chaotic. It was ordered, intelligent, deliberate. The discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. For decades, astronomers had dreamed of finding a message in the stars, but no one had ever imagined the message would take the form of an object, one that could reshape itself in response to observation, like it was aware of being watched. In the days that followed, something strange happened. All over the world, radio transmissions began to fail, first sporadically, then completely. The frequency bands used for communication were flooded with noise identical to the comet's pulse. Internet relays faltered, satellites entered safe mode, and shortwave operators reported that the entire electromagnetic spectrum had been consumed by a rhythmic hum. The Earth had gone quiet. The only systems still functioning were those shielded underground or powered through analog backups. Governments urged calm, claiming a solar storm had disrupted global infrastructure, but scientists knew better. This wasn't random interference. It was synchronization. Earth was no longer merely receiving the signal, it was transmitting it, amplifying it, broadcasting it outward into the void. Astronomers across the globe stared helplessly as the pulse strengthened, visible now even to the naked eye as faint ripples of green light sweeping across the night sky. Humanity had become a beacon, an extension of 3i Atlas itself. The line between natural and artificial had vanished. The universe was no longer something we observed. It was something we were now part of. Then, one by one, observatories around the world began to report a new phenomenon. The stars were shifting, not physically, but in light. Subtle alterations in starlight spectra revealed that multiple stars within a narrow band of the Milky Way were pulsing in the same rhythm as Earth, 22 seconds. When mapped together, those stars formed a vast geometric constellation that perfectly mirrored the shape of the inner solar system, scaled millions of times larger and centered on our Sun. Within that constellation, one glowing point matched Earth's position exactly. Scientists called it the reflection field. The implication was impossible to ignore. 3i Atlas wasn't just communicating with us, it was connecting us to something far beyond. The stars themselves were responding, synchronizing to the same frequency as our planet. Whether it was a network, a code, or a cosmic architecture awakening across space, no one knew. But one truth became clear: we were no longer alone. The universe had noticed us, and the signal that began near Mars had now spread across the galaxy, a whisper becoming a symphony, calling something vast and ancient out of the dark. For centuries, humanity has stared into the cosmos, asking the same unanswerable question: are we alone? We've sent probes, messages, and golden records into the dark, hoping that somewhere, someone might hear us. But what if they already had? What if the silence we thought surrounded us was never silence at all? Just a waiting frequency, holding its breath until we were capable of listening. When 3i Atlas brushed past Mars, it didn't merely illuminate a planet, it illuminated us. Its passage triggered something far beyond a comet's natural behavior. It awakened resonance in worlds, in machines, in the very fabric of light and sound that connects our species to the stars. What we thought was an observation became a reflection. What we assumed was a visitor became a mirror, showing us not the cosmos as it is, but as it sees us. As Earth now hums in harmony with distant stars, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. This wasn't contact in the way we imagined it. There were no messages written in binary code, no ships descending through clouds. The message was the universe itself, geometry, rhythm, and energy woven into everything. 3i Atlas wasn't speaking in words. It was speaking in design. It was showing us that intelligence doesn't always arrive as a voice. Sometimes it arrives as a pattern, ancient and infinite, waiting for recognition. The James Webb telescope continues to record echoes of the signal, each pulse more complex than the last. The map in the sky, the one now reflected across the Milky Way, is still unfolding, star by star, like a network awakening from dormancy. Some believe it's an invitation, others fear it's a countdown. But one thing is certain: the universe has changed, and so have we. So when historians look back on the night of October 3rd, 2025, they may not remember it as the moment a comet passed by Mars. They will remember it as the night humanity's reflection was finally seen by the stars, and the stars blinked back. Now it's your turn. Do you think 3i Atlas was just a comet? Or something that had been waiting for us all along? Let us know what you believe in the comments below. And if this story left you questioning everything you thought you knew about the universe, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who still believes the stars are silent. Because after 3i Atlas, we now know the truth. The universe was never quiet. It was just waiting for us to listen.